Outside the Box Reviews. Alien Week continues, and today we are looking at the big bitch herself. This is the McFarlane Movie Maniacs Series 6, Queen Alien. This is the Queen from the end of the movie Aliens, and it was released by McFarlane Toys as a gigantic box set. Now I got this set used, and it is missing a few bits and pieces, but the majority of the figure is still there, and I could talk about the things that are missing a little bit. So let's dive right in and take a closer look at the Queen. We'll start from the ground up. You can see the Queen has a display base here, kind of made to look like the floor of the colony. It's a fairly large base, covers a big section of the alien herself. And then there's a little part here where something plugs in. Originally this was a replica of the wall with the victim like gooed into the wall, held up there, ready to be impregnated with a facehugger. I believe it actually had a chest burster you could push through its chest or something like that. Mine did not have that when I got my hands on it, but seeing that this is a set that regularly goes for some high prices on the secondary market, I wasn't going to complain that it was missing that piece. The Queen herself is beautifully detailed. You can see the feet. There's a lot of good sculpting on the toes, the claws here. It has the back little high heel spike. For the feet to peg into the base, it actually does have a spike coming down, a metal spike coming out of the foot that goes into the base, which is a little disappointing because there's no way she could ever stand on her own. Though, being a very heavy figure, I don't think it would have happened anyway. Take a look at her other foot. You can see it's evenly detailed, very well done. The legs are in a pre-posed position, in that back bent, very vicious looking mode. Lots and lots of sculpting detail. The paint's not bad either. It's mostly a black figure. There's some shades of gray and blue in there. And it's fairly glossy, which works well for an alien. If you rotate her around, you can take a look at the torso here. It has the big pelvis bone down here that the Queen had in the movie. Here we have the part where the extra arms would have pegged in. I'm missing those as well, which is the biggest disappointment on this figure, because those would have been kind of nice to have. I love the sculpting on the hand. It's got all of its many fingers. There's kind of an indentation over here where the weird setup of the hand is. There's actually holes clear through the hand, which look great. Rotate around and take a look at the thumb there. It has a bit of a wing coming off the shoulder up here. Not really a wing, but a spike. We have the big, longer spikes on the back of the figure. There's 3 on each side. I believe it's a little warped on the one side, probably from how it was sitting in a box over the ears. Has its spinal ridge coming down. That comes down into the tail. The tail has a bendy wire. It can actually be disconnected from the figure, but it's totally posable, soft rubber. Get a lot of motion out of it. It is a little awkward just because of how large it is. You can swing it around here and you can take a look at the big long spike at the back, perfect for impaling androids on. You can take a better look at this side of her. Just lots and lots of great detail on this figure. Really nicely done. The hand sculpt on this hand is a little odd, kind of a strange position. Not really sure what they were going for with that. And now onto my favorite part of the figure, the head sculpt. Really nicely done. It's got a rubberized neck with still a lot of great detail on it. It's large, I don't even know what you'd call this. The top part of the head kind of reminds me of a stegosaurus, like the frill or whatever. The mouth is well done. The head is really nicely done in general. Has another rubberized piece coming down to the chin to kind of make the strap or whatever, the membranes that the aliens have. The teeth, I don't know if you could even pick it up on here, but the teeth are actually translucent, which is movie accurate, which is awesome. I think I would have preferred an open mouth just to be more threatening, but it is still a fairly nice position for the mouth to be in. It's threatening and all that. If you rotate her down, you can just see there's a lot of beautiful detail in this top part here. Really well sculpted. It looks fantastic. For articulation, the Queen has a joint here in the head. It can swivel back and forth. No real up and down. It is also limited both by the sculpt and these membranes here. Now, originally this neck would have been similar to the tail with the bendy piece inside. You could have rotated on a ball joint back here and bent it as well. Mine ended up breaking as soon as I got it, so I ended up having to glue the neck to the body. It's actually a little loose on there even, but you would have had a good range of motion out of that neck. I don't know if it's a common problem for it to be as fragile as this one was, and once again, this figure, I believe, came out of a chicken coop, so this figure hasn't exactly had an easy life, so it may not be true to all of these. The arm you can rotate and also bend up at the shoulder. No joints coming down the arm. She does have a rotation in the wrist. I believe from looking at the chest that the extra arms would have pegged into these as ball joints, so they probably would have had a little bit of range of motion. Back at the waist, she can swivel, and there is a little bit of up and down as well, but she doesn't really lock into position either, though, so mostly just a swivel you get there. If we unpeg her from the base, her legs, similar to the arms, will move forward and back, and then out to the side. That joint's pretty useless, seeing that she can't stand on her own with the metal pegs out of the feet. So, really doesn't serve much purpose, but the rotation's good. You can get her at different heights and whatnot. You see the tail has popped off, but it just pegs right in her back end. As I mentioned before, it has a wire in it. Could also kind of rotate if you wanted it to, though. Not really something that works for articulation too well. I may end up just gluing the tail in eventually. For a size comparison, here we could bring in the Alien vs. Predator McFarlane Queen that was released with that movie. Obviously, this is in a smaller scale, but this is the one I'd previously reviewed on this channel, being the only queen I thought I'd ever be able to get my hands on. And she's maybe a little bigger than half the size of the original queen here. Really, once you see this little figure here, it just doesn't compare at all. It's such a night and day difference. I do like this one has a bit more of a glossy sheen to it, but I do still really love the paint on the older figure, the full-sized queen here. And for anybody wondering for the height comparison, while both these queens are on bases, they are pretty much even in height. For further comparison, let's bring in her child here, the Alien from NECA. And he is a little on the big side. Granted, most of the aliens would have been crouching down in a lower pose. This one's standing up pretty tall, but he comes up to about the queen's chin. He is standing on her base right now, by the way. So the queen may not be full size that she should be, but she is very tall and very impressive. Overall, I think this queen is really, really cool. She's kind of hard to come by at this point, expensive to come by, and obviously I'm missing a few pieces on mine. The articulation's broken in a few spots. But she is still a very impressive beast. I'm really happy I got my hands on her, and like I said before, the smaller queen that I'd picked up before just doesn't even seem like it compares to that. This is truly a great piece out of McFarlane's catalog. I know people have been clamoring for NECA to make one. I know NECA would probably put in some additional detail that'd probably be more truly movie accurate. The paint job may be a little better, the articulation most likely be better, but the daunting task of putting something like this out on the market has to be unimaginable. It's one of those items that I could just see, if you don't market it right or you make too many, you're just going to have a bunch of expensive pieces sitting on a shelf and nobody's going to pick them up and you're going to lose a lot of money. Who knows, maybe one day NECA will be able to justify making a queen. It would just be outstanding to see. But in the meantime, this is still an incredible figure. I highly recommend this queen. She is a thing of beauty and the perfect centerpiece to an Alien figure collection. Just an absolutely phenomenal piece. And the best part is, if you have deep pockets and some painting skills and you want to pick up a second one, you could probably repaint it to match the Alien Resurrection version, because they did use the same queen. If you really are obsessive and wanted to have both of those queens, you could probably do that if you really wanted to. This has been another Outside the Box review. Stay tuned for more reviews, and just watch out, because it looks like we're getting all the Prometheus goodies sometime this fall, so we'll be reviewing those and starting up a whole new Alien week sometime later this year.